Elon Musk and Donald Trump are fighting again. The girls are fighting once more. Now, this might feel like a bit of a deja vu since it wasn't maybe what, a month and a half ago when Elon Musk and Donald Trump were fighting to the point where, Donald Trump was trashing EV, was trashing, Tesla, whatever. It looked like he was going to sell his Tesla. Elon was openly suggesting that Donald Trump was on the Jeffrey Epstein client list that Pam Bondi said was on her desk. And the reason that we haven't seen more, he was implicitly kind of indicating to the public, is because the administration does not want to show how deeply involved Donald Trump or those around Donald Trump were with Jeffrey Epstein, as we do all know that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump went to parties together, that Jeffrey Epstein partied at Donald Trump's apartment, and that they were pictured together, and that Donald Trump had once described him as a friend who likes his women on the younger side. And Elon was out here indicating that Donald Trump is directly implicated in one of the most notorious, if not the most notorious, sex pests crimes in American history. And if not directly involved in the crimes, then at least aware of, which I think is particularly more easy to believe. So after Elon went out there and bashed not only Donald Trump's, personal moral ethics, whether a man who would, get a burlesque model, we'll say that, pregnant, not pregnant, but sleep with her while his wife is pregnant with their son, Barron, whether he would also engage in that behavior himself, you're going to have to leave that to speculation. But besides all those personal attacks and the attack on, hey, I think the president might be involved with the sex pest's activities, there was also political attacks about the massive amount of debt that the big beautiful bill was going to bring on. That the big beautiful bill was making Medicaid cuts. Well, this is not something that Elon Musk talked about more specifically. This was something that Senator Josh Hawley and others made warnings about. The cuts to rural hospitals are going to be kind of devastating for these Republican legislators who are going to have these specifically hit their residents, the people that they're supposed to represent. And so Elon Musk, looking down the barrel of all this debt being built up and all of this Doge work being undone on its face, as Elon Musk was faced with the political reality of spending money on the next administration's dime is always politically convenient. And so all of that Doge legacy work seemed to blow up in his face. And so they were going back and forth and fighting, and eventually that subsided, and everybody within the MAGA base and the MAGA movement seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness. And Elon deleted all of his tweets about Jeffrey Epstein as if he had never said it. Hey, everybody, I forget that I mentioned that the president of the United States might be involved in this horrible, horrible state of affairs. Forget that I said that. I'm just going to delete all of that. Either I'm a massive liar with no credibility, or I'm that, and I also happen to be right this time. So, pretty bad. But the state of affairs continued, with Elon Musk probably more isolated from the Trump camp ever since he dropped $290 million on the Trump campaign. But then the big beautiful bill continued. While there was some limiting here or there and cuts into social services and Medicaid to try to pay for making a lot of the tax cuts permanent, the new tax cuts they wanted to implement, the semi-delivering on the promises of no tax on tips, which there is still a tax on tips. It's capped. The same thing is true about a bunch of other of the promises that were supposed to be delivered in this bill. But there's still, at the end of the day, whether you want to go by dynamic or non-dynamic testing from those trying to measure this budget, there will be trillions added to the debt in the next 10 years because of the big beautiful bill. And so Elon Musk was faced with that reality, was faced with the reality that he put down $290 million down behind Trump, and Trump's still going ahead, and with the fact that that Doge legacy, when the history bucks looks at Elon Musk and they ask, what did Elon Musk do when it comes to this country's politics? What did he do to protect the republic, to make sure that our country is standing strong? And they'll say, oh, he gutted US aid. He gutted the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and he saved basically no money in the grand scheme of things. In fact, we're actually going to be taking on more debt in the administration he helped to get elected. Now, he can take that as a surprise. Anybody that watched first-term Trump would know that he is not scared to deficit spend. Anybody who saw the inauguration shuffling around of him trying to get them to raise the debt ceiling could see this from a mile away. Elon, though, apparently had vision problems. You know, he had trouble checking out the foreground, the political foreground. And so, once again, Elon is faced with the fact that the big, beautiful bill is big, but because of that, it is not beautiful to his likings. So what is Elon going to do? Well, Elon Musk says that he is going to start a new political party called, can we get any guesses in chat? Any guesses? Come on. If you know it, don't say it. But I do want a guess or two. Somebody else asked if overtime is still taxed. Yes, it is taxed, but again, capped. The big, beautiful party, that would be nice. The American Incel Party, well, that's close enough. The America Party. The Ketamine Kings, no. Not the Grok Party, the America Party. The America Party. Remember when Elon Musk took the @ on America on Twitter and just stole it? People like pay thousands of dollars for ats on social media websites. He just took it because he was the owner, could do whatever he want with it. Well, now he can use that to create a political party. The America Party. Now, is it unbelievably cheesy? Yes. Is it a little too on the nose to the point that it covers the entirety of the nose? Absolutely. Is it silly? Yes, it is silly. But also, like, if you were to start a new political party, you can't like pick up at a pre-existing name like Labor or Green or Libertarian. And trying to take over a pre-existing party like the Libertarian Party is going to come with its own host of troubles. As Donald Trump, who tried to find the Libertarian nomination, and those who have tried to manage the Libertarian Party's finances have found, as the Libertarian Party has been driven into a side of a cliff as of recent. So it seems that, you know, maybe he's just going with the America Party because, you know, it sounds good. Stars and Stripes forever. Who can be against America? And it's not like you can go back to the Whigs. If you were to start a new party, what would you call it? If you called it like the Lemurs, I guess people would find it silly. The Whig, you know, maybe like restarting the Whigs would have been interesting. But it seems that he's going with America. Okay, fine. America. So third parties, the system in the United States is not built for third parties.
Bankrupt man.
We're built for a duopoly. We're built for two parties. The way that the rules of how the debates are hosted, when it comes to like filing for office, when it comes to registering candidates in every state, registering parties in different state, registering party affiliation. As of right now, we're set up as a duopoly, both to get people on the debate stage, to get people on, you know, the ballot in all the states across the country, when it comes to how the American people treat you with any amount of political seriousness. Out of the 23,000 people who have, you know, ran for public office, you know, and, you know, ended up having any amount of success since like the 1970s, I think only like 23 or 26 have been from a third party. The vast majority of people who are running for Congress, the vast majority of people running for Senate are not part of a third party. And of the ones that are not part of the duopoly, the majority of those people are not part of the Greens or the Libertarians or anything else. they're part of either maybe the Farmer Labor Party, we're talking about Minnesota, or they're independents. And they're registered as independents, or might even later register as Democrats anyway, as we can reference Senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Danotoch, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I can't wait for Vice President Big Balls. Thank you for your fantastic commentary and donation, bringing joy to us. So the system is not really built for third parties, both for running for presidency, running for Congress, running for the Senate. And there's going to be a huge preconception in the American voters' minds of a vote for a third party is a throwaway vote, and whoever is closest to my third party options pick, I'm just going to be taking a vote away from them. For example, if you're voting for a Green candidate in an area that's competitive between a Democrat and a Republican on climate issues, that might end up helping the Republican win, because you take enough votes away from the Democrat. The vice versa of that could be a Libertarian possibly taking votes away from the Republican candidate, or in this instance, which would almost certainly be the case, taking votes away in reference to the America Party from the Republicans. And the reason I say that is that Elon Musk has very low approval ratings amongst Democrats and amongst liberals. He also has low approval ratings amongst independents, but has strong enough approval ratings amongst Republicans. But Republicans already have a party. Republicans. If you were to take the percentage of people who like Musk but don't like the Republican Party, maybe you can refer to this as the base that Elon is going to be most persuasive with, we're talking about 4% of the country. These are the people who like Elon and don't like the Republican Party. So we're talking about 4% of the country. Now, of those 4%, we cannot assume that every single one of those people are going to jump on. You could, in a bad day, if I'm in a particularly bad mood about how Ken Martin or whoever is running the Democratic Party, you might get me to say, I'm not happy with the Democratic Party. Poll me against it. Sure, they particularly upset me this week. Am I going to vote for the Greens? No, I want my vote to matter. I want my vote to mean something. Independents tend to be strategic to a point with their vote. So assuming that he would get 4% is being incredibly generous in the amount of hope those people would place in Elon and his ability to shake the duopoly, especially if we're talking about any race that is semi-competitive. And Elon does not just hope to take votes away from the Republicans, at least publicly espousing that. It could be that this is a way to hurt the Republican Party after they ignored his demands, and if he takes some votes away in some tight races and hurts them some bit, maybe they'll be forced to come to him and accept some of his terms about Doge 2.0 or next spending bills going before him for approval, or listening to him more in order to get his funding for the midterms that are coming up. Who knows? I have no clue. But according to him, he wants to win. Elon wants to use the America Party to win races, not to make up a third of the House, at least not right away. I assume if Elon stuff went well, he'd like to take it places, but their goal in the immediate sense is not to snatch at the presidency, even though, of course, another presidential run is quite a ways away, but to run people in places where they could be competitive House races, and see if they can pick up a few seats in the House and maybe a seat in the Senate. And that with such a close, divide in the House and such a close divide in the Senate, with there only being a few House seats that divide the Democrats and Republicans and a few Senate seats, 1 or 2 Senate seats and 5 or 6 House seats could actually be quite influential in this era of politics, considering that's about the size of what has divided Democrats and Republicans. And from that position, all of the sudden, a third party like Elon's America Party could end up having influence in a spending bill, or influence when it comes to any legislation they wanted to pass through budget reconciliation. or for anything that they, wanted to bring to the House floor and put through. If they just needed a simple majority vote for anything that just needed a simple majority. Because, of course, they're still a ways away from a veto-proof majority or a 2/3 majority, which a lot of other legislation needs. And is why they've been, their avoidance of that, their lack of having that is why they are doing this budget reconciliation to achieve anything in the first place. So, under that goal, okay, I could see that. I could see where Elon's going there. But again, Elon Musk just throwing a bunch of money at the problem, throwing a bunch of money at a third party isn't going to magically create a successful third party. Ross Perot is a lot more popular than Elon Musk is when he was running for office, than Elon Musk is now. He's unpopular with the majority of Americans, right? Michael Bloomberg, he ran for office with gigantic coffers. How far did that presidential run take him? Now, of course, that was running for president. These are a bunch of individual House races and Senate races. The stakes are a little different. The media environment's going to be different. How you can concentrate your money is going to be different in comparison to having to spread it across the entire United States. If Elon decided to concentrate on like 6 races and then 3 he does okay, 3 he does bad, and then just hyper concentrates on the 3 he's doing okay, maybe the situation could be different. But it's going to take more than just big money in order to flip a race. Elon Musk dumped a ton of money into a judicial race in the Rust Belt and lost. And he way outspent the Democratic opponent and lost. Elon Musk spent a ton of money to get Donald Trump in the White House, and he's still having trouble. So assuming that just because Elon can throw a bunch of money at the problem, that it's necessarily going to produce victories, that's not necessarily the case. They're going to have to find good candidates. Going to have to find people who are good public speakers. They're going to have to find people who speak to some issues that matter to the area. Because if you get somebody to say, sure, I'll run, and they're an okay candidate, and you put their face everywhere, but they don't have anything to say, well, then how did Zoran Mondani win in New York and Andrew Cuomo lose? Status quo Cuomo. And, I mean, he way outspent Mondani due to big money. So I don't think that Elon Musk just throwing his wallet around is necessarily going to produce him political victories. This could end up just being a Michael Bloomberg-sized disaster. Hell, considering Elon put $290 million in his effort to get Trump elected, and now this is a political party of his own creation, of his own design, which is carrying his banner. He might even put more money. It might be even bigger than a Michael Bloomberg-sized disaster. But what is the effects of this if he really goes through with it? If this is not just a short-term method of, hey, he's going to go around with this for a bit and then he's going to back off in a few months once the Republicans concede something, and he legitimately holds this through the midterms and runs candidates, and Elon Musk is saying he wants to run candidates specifically in these upcoming midterms, I think the most likely outcome is his candidate comes in 3rd place in just about every race, and then after coming in 3rd place in just about every race, ends up taking the majority of votes away from the Republicans. And so if it has any impact on any race whatsoever, it ends up flipping it towards the Democrats or making it more difficult for the Republicans to win, and therefore they have to use more resources. I could see a scenario where maybe Democrats spend more, assuming that since now the Republicans are having some votes taken away from them, maybe an area could be more competitive. And there's a lot of demand in the Democratic Party right now to go on the offensive, so, maybe that could psychologically play into it. Either way, though, I think that this doesn't go anywhere besides hurting the Republican Party and just helping, tend to Elon's ego, honestly. I don't think it goes any further than that. I listened to Van Jones say on CNN that maybe because of the anti-establishment sentiment, people are anti-establishment, but in 2020 and in 2016, how did they answer that anti-establishment credo? Did they answer it by coming to the name of Gary Johnson? Did they come to it by coming to Jill Stein and her never-ending campaign? Or did they answer it by electing Donald Trump? They elected Donald Trump. So when we say, like, oh, when Van Jones on CNN seriously suggests, well, maybe the people will call up, he's misunderstanding what people want. People want to change the status quo. They don't want to throw their vote away. And currently, most third parties are still viewed that way in the United States. Funnily enough, Elon might have more success if he was to try to take over a caucus within either party by just throwing his wallet around, rather than trying to make a new political entity where the structures that he's going to be fighting against can't be overcome with a big, sack of cash. The paradigm shift has redeemed ask for subs. I don't know if the paradigm shift is asking for a sub or is asking for me to tell the people to sub. But either way, if you go to DylanBurns.tv and you gift some subs, that would be beautiful. Unbelievably beautiful. As beautiful as a sunset, as a flowing mountain creek where it's bubbling, is flaring, filling up your eardrums. As beautiful as a bouncing baby boy. Gary Johnson wasn't radical enough. He thinks you should have to have a license to drive a car. Yeah, that's pretty statist of him. He probably just wants to do the Bull Moose party I wanted to do. Teddy didn't want to win just to throw a wrench in the election. I mean, when you have all the money in the world, right? Okay, I know this is a really stupid comparison, but if you guys ever played like Grand Theft Auto and you got like a money hack or something, and then all of a sudden the money in the game doesn't matter, what do you start doing? Do you start spending your money like stupid? And if I had as much money as Elon Musk, and I had as much of an ego as Elon Musk, which he, there's one thing that I don't even think the people around him who love him could deny, is that he has a ego the size of Mars. Why not? Why not treat a political system as a toy? I mean, $290 million can make and break a presidential election. What could $400 million do in a midterm? $500 million. I mean, really, however deep Elon wants to dig into his pockets, that's how deep he can dig into his pockets. Of course, it's not literally infinite. It's not like $10 billion, but hundreds upon hundreds of millions is well within range. So, since we were talking about Elon, I did want to bring up what he went after the Trump people for, which is this. What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again. You should get a ghostwriter, Elon. I mean, he's trying. The official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter, 0. 0 pedophiles arrested. Viewed by 26 million people. 373,000 likes. Lot of juice behind this one. And remember, this is not the first time Elon Musk has talked about this. He talked about this during the most recent spat they had when the girls were fighting. He's talking about it now that the girls are fighting once again. And every time he puts lifeblood into this, it seeps down into the rest of the space. Everybody else on the social media platforms talking about it. So while those viewership counters of 26 million on Twitter are never really the strongest, because if you just scroll past it, that's a view, there's a lot more people than just who saw this or who are talking about this right now. And the reason they're talking about it is because the Department of Justice and the FBI, Kash Patel and gang, have come out and said that Epstein died by suicide. don't do it, of course, for the YouTube censors. Don't do it. I'm saying not to do that. But he died by self elimination, and that he had no client list to speak of. That the Epstein client list, the client list that, supposedly held all of these politicians and businessmen, intelligentsia, and those in elite society who had gone to his island where crimes were taking place, crimes with the underage, and then built a backlog of blackmail, which were then used to balance and leverage against those societal elite in order for Epstein to be a power broker and to have leverage to not only control others for whatever illicit interest he might want to, but also protect himself. That was the general ebb and flow of the story. Well, apparently it's all phooey, and there is no client list, and no, we cannot see all of the uncensored documents from the Epstein case. Now, this headline might be a little confusing, and I'll explain as to why in a moment. But first, let me read you what was originally an Axios exclusive, but of course since then has flooded the airwaves everywhere. President Trump's Justice Department and FBI, headed by Kash Patel, the guy who said he was going to flush out the deep state, have concluded that they have no evidence that convicted offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. The administration is releasing a video in both raw and enhanced versions that indicates no one entered the area of the Manhattan prison where Epstein was held the night he died in 2019. The video supports a medical examiner's findings that Epstein died by suicide, the two-page memo claims. The findings represent the first time the Trump administration has officially contradicted conspiracy theories about Epstein's activities and his death, theories that have been pushed by the FBI's two top officials before Trump appointed them to the Bureau. And so the person who just came out in his administration, the FBI, Kash Patel's FBI, that guy said this before he had the job. Let's bring this up.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
It's because of who's on that list. Who's on that list? Now, it isn't just Kash Patel in this Trump administration that talked about this list. Of course, RFK talked about it. Dan Bongino, who is now the deputy director of the FBI, he talked about this. A bunch of people in Trump's immediate circle talked about the need to flush out this list. In fact, the fact that there is no list might be surprising to someone like Attorney General Pam Bondi, considering she said on February 21st, within a month of the Trump administration taking back the White House, said, Jeffrey Epstein's client list is on my desk right now, at this very moment, to review. And I quote, on my desk right now to review. So the fact that there is no client list might be a little confusing, because if that's the case, what were those binders on Pam Bondi's desk? What was on Pam Bondi's desk? What was Pam Bondi reviewing? What was she looking at in February, which now, in July, is not being released to the public? Why are there still huge swaths of the documents that have been released to the public blacked out? Just simply censored. And I mean, like, full pages upon pages upon pages completely blacked out, including names of people not disclosed. Why is it that of the raw footage that they did release, This one's a little bit bolder to me. The release of the footage, because what was essential for the Jeffrey Epstein story, what made the Jeffrey Epstein story so easy to theorize about, was not just who Jeffrey Epstein was, you know, the fact that he was, you know, a financier with so many ties up in high society. It wasn't just the crimes that he committed with Maxwell. It was the circumstances of his passing. Not only the self-elimination, but also a self-elimination in his cell when he had previously never disclosed the desire to engage in said behavior. And when that happened, he was not checked up on by the guards for a long period of time. And there was also a cut in the video feed in that time. So to 100% confirm that nobody entered the cell is impossible if there's whole minutes of footage that's just missing from the camera roll. But again, Pam Bondi, client list on my desk right now. Where's the client list? Can't wait to hear the excuses. Oh, I'm so excited. I couldn't be more excited.